Thanks, guys. Hi there, I'm Ash, Chief Strategy Officer at RiskZero, and today we are going to talk about ZK and the future of scaling. So some of you might have noticed ZK has been a hot ticket these days, getting a lot of play, a lot of action. Just judging by the number of side events alone this week, I can tell that the Ethereum community is very, very excited about the future of this technology. And that's been really encouraging for us, and I have to say, they are not alone. This is Tim Sweeney, CEO of Epic Games. Epic Games is the maker of Fortnite, one of the most popular video games on Earth. And he says, the field of zero-knowledge proofs, the idea that you can verify that something happened without receiving any private details about it, I think that's going to be the backbone of a large part of the next century in technology. So why does Tim Sweeney, the CEO of one of the biggest gaming companies on Earth, care about ZK? Well, some of you might know that Epic Games and Tim are in the middle of a fairly epic battle with Apple's App Store. So Apple's App Store is charging every single app about a 30% markup or tax, if you will, middleman fee on every single dime of revenue that they earn through the App Store. And so Tim Sweeney and the folks at Epic Games and many other mobile gaming companies, app creators, and users also stand to really benefit from decentralized technologies like Ethereum, open architecture, the ability to have free and open source software running on our mobile phones. What's the problem right now? That infrastructure doesn't scale. It just doesn't work. And that's one of the reasons why I joined RiskZero about a year ago, is to start to work on this problem. So, just a little bit about me and my background. I started my career in the traditional finance world, worked at JP Morgan and then private equity, and fell down the Bitcoin rabbit hole around 2013. Ultimately went and ended up working at MakerDAO, which was sort of like the OG DeFi company. It was a decentralized lending protocol. Probably a lot of you have heard of it. That really got me excited about the potential for kind of the DeFi space. After that, I went to work at Uniswap. Imagine most of you have probably heard of Uniswap or probably used it at some point. I was heading up growth there, and yeah, I was there from the early days. I remember launching the protocol on day one. I think Vitalik put in like 50K on the first day, and I just remember how nervous we were. We hope we don't lose Vitalik's money. And now the industry is just absolutely huge. DeFi is doing billions of dollars in transactions per day. We've got over $1 trillion in total transaction volume under our belt not too long ago, and the industry has just really taken off. And DeFi put Ethereum on the map, really. I mean, for many years, it's been like the kind of killer app for Ethereum. And I'm really proud of the work that this community has done around that. Building really powerful, robust, open source, free financial infrastructure for everyone is a really cool goal, and something that I've just had so much fun working on over the last few years. But increasingly, I'm starting to feel that we didn't finish what we started. And what I mean by that, and I just want to run you guys through some numbers. So as much as we all hope our tokens are going up and to the right, our gas prices are also going up and to the right. And just to give you guys a little bit more context, and this was probably a week or two ago when I made these slides, but at ETH, just wallet-to-wallet transfer is $2. A Uniswap V3 swap, so you can see in purple, was running around $12 at the time. OpenSea was almost $20. That's just not going to work. I mean, for context, 47% of the world's population lives on less than $6.85 per day. So, we're asking people to make a trade on Uniswap to spend, double what they normally have as their budget for the day. That's just not going to work. So it's not enough to say, we've built this beautiful decentralized protocol and network that anyone can use with an internet connection, unless we actually, put our money where our mouth is and go make it accessible for the rest of the world. So that's kind of why I'm interested in ZK. I'm really interested in scaling. I want to finish what we started. I don't want us to be like this industry that just paid ourselves a bunch of money and then didn't actually make open, accessible architecture for the rest of the world. If we do it that way, then we end up looking like this guy, and nobody wants that. So it's time to scale. Lots of really exciting things have happened in this space. Basically, over the last few years, layer 2 technology has come to the forefront. We've got Arbitrum and Optimism working on optimistic rollups. We've got Polygon. So there are options. Increasingly, though, we're starting to understand the limitations of some of those things. And ZK has sort of entered the fray as, I think what most people at this point are sort of agreeing is sort of the most viable option for achieving genuine scale in blockchains. So, enter ZK. ZK enables verifiable computation. For the purposes of this talk, I'm not going to go too deep into what ZK is. I think probably most people have a good understanding. If you don't, come talk to me afterwards. I'd love to shill you on it. But basically, the idea is that with ZK, you can prove that you're correct without having to show your work. It offers privacy and scalability. Uh-oh. Where did the slides go? Sorry, guys. Well, I guess I'll just keep going here. Don't really need the slides. But basically what it allows you to do is do really big computations off-chain, and you can do it in a way where you're able to prove that it was done in a verifiably correct way. You're then able to post that stuff onto the chain in a Merkleized way, and then you can actually use that information, use those computations, because they were done in a verifiably correct way. You can trust it, and you can use that information inside of applications. So, I guess the next question is, what's the best way to sort of harness the magic of ZK? And there are lots of different teams in the space have different approaches to this. But our team at Risk0 has basically the approach of make it easy for any dev to become a magician. And what does that mean? That means going to devs where they are. That means open architecture. That means open languages, allowing people to write ZKPs and interact with ZKPs from wherever they are, whatever language, whichever chain, etc. And I want to give a little bit more context on kind of where the rest of the space is right now. So at this point, most of the plays to bring ZK into production are sort of what you might call vertically integrated. And that means that they're saying to developers, come move to our chain to make use of ZK. Or they're saying to developers, learn a new custom programming language that we've developed and come and join our community and start building within our tech stack. They're asking developers to vote with their feet, basically. And that's sort of one approach to this. And as always, as we're trying to build new and innovative technologies, I think one thing that really helps is to take a look at the past. And honestly, there are a lot of parallels between things that happened sort of in the early days of the web and what we're seeing in the blockchain space now. So I just want to touch on one example here. So in the early days of cloud computing, basically if you were an internet company in the 90s and early 2000s, you were vertically integrated. That means you owned your own hardware, you ran your own servers, and you use that compute power to do whatever services it was you were trying to offer. 9 times out of 10, you weren't using all of the compute power that you had available with the hardware and servers that you had installed in your offices. So the idea of being able to rent out that server space became what we're now calling cloud computing, basically. And the race to become the top dog in cloud computing was on. And Microsoft made a really big play to basically take over that space. They started building data centers. They built out Microsoft IaaS, which is their web server software. They built out MSQL, which is their database software. And they started trying to license this software sort of really broadly in the industry, taking it to every single data center creator, all of the Silicon Valley companies that were trying to rent out their cloud space. And they wanted everybody to be a Microsoft customer. This was basically them just adding a middleman fee sort of in the middle of this kind of cloud computing industry, this nascent cloud computing industry. So people started experimenting and really started to get behind using Linux. Linux is free and open source software. It was a little harder to implement at first because Microsoft was sort of designed to be out of the box, user friendly to start setting up your own servers. But because Linux had this great open source community, the user experience improved super, super quickly. Security improved super, super quickly. And because it was free, it was just like an easy choice for anyone that was looking to enter the cloud computing space, and it became the de facto standard. Once that happened, there was sort of this like Cambrian explosion in the amount of actual compute power that was available. And that basically was sort of like the advent of the modern web that we have today. So if you want to just quickly look at this chart, you can kind of see some parallels in the stories between like early web and early crypto. Early web, each website had its own physical servers in their offices. Early crypto, each dapp had its own blockchain. Bitcoin, Litecoin, Namecoin, if anyone remembers that one. It's a throwback. And then with the modern web, websites start to run on virtual machines that share physical machines. And in modern crypto, we're starting to see increasingly dapps that run on app-specific chains that share security and consensus. And they also outsource computation and data availability. So what lessons can we take from the early web as we look to get things going in the crypto world and get things scaling? The best way to support the adoption of broad technological paradigms is to make them open source and accessible. I think that the Ethereum community has been always really committed to those ideals. Risk0 is very, very committed to that as well, and we're excited to see what happens there. Build horizontally, meet developers where they are. So we're building on RISC-V instruction set, which means that people can use ZKPs with Risk0 writing from Rust, Go, C++. We'll add support for Python and Java. Of course, we'll add support for Solidity. We want to go where the developers are already building, and we want to spread out that technology really broadly. Don't come to us, we'll come to you. That's kind of like our motto. We want to go to where the developers are and make it easy for them to onboard into this stuff and start using these scaling tools. So with that, I want to introduce Bonsai. Our team launched this product a couple of days ago. We're really proud of it. It's a very, very early version of what we will be building in the future. Tagline is boundless generic computation on any chain. We want to allow people to run really powerful programs from wherever they are and have that verifiably correct data on chain. So I think in the interest of time, I'm not going to go too much into the details of how all of this works. I'll just say simply, anyone could submit a request for proving services. The thing gets proved, and then gets rolled up and Merkleized to all of the chains that Risk0 supports, and then application developers can cheaply prove any execution trace by referencing the on-chain rollup and providing a Merkle path to the root. So I want to just talk quickly about a couple of cool use cases. So everything optimistic that we're currently doing optimistically, like optimistic rollups, et cetera, will soon be done in ZK. Basically, when you do an optimistic rollup, you just trust that everything was executed correctly, and then there's this 7-day dispute window where anyone can check your work and basically call you out, and you get punished if you lied or if you said something that was incorrect. Using ZK, you can actually verify at execution that programs were run correctly in less than 15 seconds, so you can reduce that 7-day dispute window to like 15 seconds and getting faster every day. We're hoping to get it to sub 10 here pretty soon. The second use case I want to talk about is proof of location. This is like, I was talking about this one in our booth yesterday, and it really blew my mind. But Foam is working on a new primitive on-chain proof of location. So the way that their system works is they've got a network of zones, and each zone, you can think of a zone as like a node, basically. Each zone has 4 radios each. The radios represent like X, Y, and Z axis in space. The 4th one represents time. The nodes are able to sign in ZK, which means that they can prove that they correctly calculated the exact location using the inputs provided, which means that they can provide like a level of certainty, basically, to any applications that might want to use this. So, you can imagine in the future using something like this, you would be able to get a POAP when you walk in the room, right? And you would be able to have that done also in a private way, so you're not actually sharing your information. Yep. And there's lots of other cool applications, military, industrial, proof of Britney. I want to prove that I went to every Britney Spears concert ever. You can do it that way. So why should I care? Why should you care? Most of you are probably application developers, aspiring application developers, Web3 pioneers. As I was talking about earlier, I've had the opportunity to work on some of the biggest, kind of coolest applications in the blockchain space, and I'm super proud of that. but it sucks that half the world can't use the stuff that I've spent all this time building. And so I want to encourage developers to make your scaling decisions early. Don't just rely on your chains to think about scaling. If you want to build something that's going to change the world, you need to be having that conversation in your teams early on, and we have solutions that we're ready to bring to you. Second thing I want to encourage everybody to do is commit to accessibility for users. You know, we didn't build DeFi so that like Jump and Wintermute can trade against each other on chain all day. We built it so that there can be like really badass, robust tools for everyone to use sort of all around the world. Let's finish what we started. And yeah, thank you guys. If you're interested in learning more, sign up for our Bonsai beta. You can find it at bonsai.xyz. You can also check out our website, my Twitter, Risk Zero's Twitter. And yeah, thank you.